Could nuclear power become the future of cruise ships? The shipping industry accounts for 3% of global carbon emissions, with passenger vessels among the most energy demanding. Shipping companies need to reduce their use of fossil fuels, and nuclear power is being revisited as a clean and reliable solution to decarbonise the sector. Nuclear already powers some marine transport, but until recently, using a nuclear reactor to power a cruise would have been unthinkable. Now, even some cruise companies are actively looking into it. That's a significant shift. From cruising to cargo, nuclear has the power to radically reshape the maritime sector.
Shipping is a very relatively green way of transporting goods, but the shipping industry is so large that the cumulative amount of pollution out there is significant. And so they are looking for ways to decarbonize. And if you look at some of these very large ships that are out there, how can you fully decarbonize something like that? You can't do it with batteries. You can't do it with wind or solar. You only have two options. One is to use what we call e-fuels like hydrogen or ammonia. And I can go on for an hour as to why a lot of mariners do not like the idea of being around hydrogen and ammonia, not to mention where is that stuff even coming from. So all that leaves in the end is a nuclear reactor. Seeing, in addition to all the other advantages of not using up space with fuel tanks on your ship and not having to stop to refuel so often, that's why we're seeing compelling business cases for ships.
For decades, nuclear propulsion has powered ships for naval and icebreaker applications. However, most merchant vessels rely on diesel engines. For shipping to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions, in line with International Maritime Organization goals, that must change. Ships powered by nuclear reactors have no emissions, along with many other benefits. They can run for years on a small amount of fuel, freeing up more space for cargo and passengers, and removing the need for refueling stops in the schedule. Nuclear ships can also travel faster. That means fewer ships would be needed on busy routes, and can even reduce the need for some cargo to travel by air. This makes nuclear an attractive option to move the global economy cleaner and faster.
I spend a lot of time talking to mariners on ships. A lot of them are facing having to operate ships that are using, in particular, hydrogen and ammonia, but potentially other things in the name of decarbonization. And they're very uncomfortable with that. And without exception, everyone that I have talked to has said they would be more comfortable being next to a nuclear reactor on a ship than next to a tank of ammonia.
That shift in attitude may be the most revealing part of all, because inside industries where safety and reliability matter every day, nuclear is the safe and reliable choice. Beyond nuclear propulsion, floating nuclear power plants are another way that nuclear energy is taking to the sea.
For a floating nuclear power plant, the way that I like to describe it is, it follows through on what the promise of SMRs always was. The whole business case for SMRs is that you make a whole lot of them, and they're all the same, and so that's how you compete with, say, a very large-scale plant that has the benefit of economies of scale. You're using shipyard construction methods, which are already very modular and standardized in effect. And so what I think you will find is, for any site that is accessible by water, obviously, a floating nuclear power plant will be a more compelling business case than a terrestrial plant.
Floating nuclear power plants using small modular reactors are potentially cheaper to build than power plants on land. Rather than selecting a permanent location on land, reactors could be built in shipyards, using the same modular techniques already common in shipbuilding to deliver series production at scale. For ports, coastal cities, and industrial hubs, that could make nuclear quicker and more flexible to deploy than traditional land-based reactors. Floating nuclear power plants are not science fiction. They are already in use in some parts of the world.
Floating nuclear power plants are going to be absolutely key in so many different industries. Imagine if the grid is knocked out and all of a sudden you absolutely need electricity somewhere, you can pull one of these things in. Perhaps you're operating an oil and gas installation in the middle of the sea and you need power. So yes, you can use floating nuclear power plants for that.
The other thing I'll say that I'll leave you with is, if it says anything about public acceptance, the fact that I have cruise ship companies coming to ask about the prospect of nuclear power cruise ships says to me that they have done enough research to know that nuclear isn't going to scare away the industry.
The maritime and nuclear industries are setting a course for an exciting future where commercial shipping is nuclear powered and floating nuclear power plants take clean energy to where it's needed. Together, they are navigating perceptions and developing the regulations that will lead to this technology being used at scale, with the potential not just to decarbonise shipping, but to reshape the global economy.